welcome back to the channel that knows nothing. I'm Jam and let's get to it. Today we are diving on into the Barking About Books tag, which I'm super keen for. The first question in this tag is, I've got a bone to pick with you, and that is name a book that was good until it wasn't. And I've got Daughter of the Deep for this one. I really wanted to like it. I totally wanted to like it. The premise was so cool. Under the water adventure with Rick Riordan, like amazing. But I really couldn't connect to any of the characters. And I found that I didn't understand what the evil people really wanted, if I'm honest. And I think I found it very jarring that like the main character's, spoiler, brother ended up surviving this big attack, ended up being on like the enemy side. It's just like, why? Like that's not really jarring, especially since I kind of had thought that might happen, because it's just like, oh well, we didn't actually, you know, find his body, and it was kind of a cutaway death in my mind. So it was good until it wasn't. The next question in this tag is welcome home, and that is name a book or series that has warm feelings of home, and I've got to go with Once They Were Giants. It's always got to be that one. That one feels like home. That one reminds me of home. I can't, like, that's the book. That's what represents my whole person. That's the book. Question number 3 in this tag is roughing it, and that is name a book that has an element of travel or journey, and I've got to go with the Song of Achilles on this one, when they travel to Troy. And also that book I feel like has a lot of journey in it anyway, so, and travel, so just got to pick that. Also like one hell of a journey to Troy and then not back again. The next question in this tag is marking your territory, and that is name a book that you always stand by, and I've got to go with Siege and Storm on this one. It is my favorite one in the Grishaverse, and I'm disappointed to say they've messed it up. They fucking messed it up on Netflix. I don't know what they were thinking. It was like, hey, let's make the sequel, but also can we add in all these elements from future books? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? What are you doing? Like, I don't mind sort of like little secrets that people that have read the books will get, but I don't understand why they added in things from like way down the line, like in A Rule of Wolves, which is the most recent one. I'm like, why? Like character deaths. Like I'm just like, I don't mind that the character dies, but they don't die just yet. I think the one that annoyed me the most, which, stop it now if you don't want to hear it, but I think the one that annoyed me the most was David. Like I could not believe they did that. I was like, what? No, there's so much more that needs to be explored here. They're like one of my favorite, like most of the couples in the books, not and on the show, because it's the same characters basically. They have so much left to explore with that. And the fact that they didn't get married, I was like, oh, that takes away so much. And I loved and hated the scene, because it's just like if we take it out of the book context, we take that away. That is an amazing scene, because it's just like, ooh, but everyone knew they got married in the end. So like, why would you take that away? Why didn't they have their little wedding? Like, I'm just like, oh God, like no. Oh, I've never been so disappointed. I wanted it to be a good season. The book is so good. This book is so much better than what they gave us. Like I love the casting. It's amazing. But oh, the writing is terrible. Why? Why? Number 5 in this tag is digging holes, and that is name a book that had hidden secrets or had a big plot twist. And I've got to go with the Harry Kabir affair on this one. It is so good, and the fact that like it's kind of parallel to the TV show is even better, and the casting in the TV show is perfect. And it's so good. It's so good. Like, it's a murder mystery, or it becomes a murder mystery. It's kind of like these two stories happening at different times. So Harry Capper, he's not really the main character. He's just a character in it. And then Marcus is his student. Because he is a writer, Harry is, he ends up later in the future teaching Marcus. And then during his teaching Marcus, there's like this other story that has happened in his past. And it's not until later that Marcus finds out about that story. It's really well written. I'm not explaining it well at all, but it's so good. So basically, in Harry's past, this girl went missing and no one really knows what happens to her. Everyone's like, oh, she just ran away because her father was abusive. But as the story kind of starts to unfold, you learn a lot more about it and about Harry and about all the stuff that happened this summer that this girl went missing. Because eventually, in the story, happens quite early on, the girl's body gets found on Harry's premises. It's buried there. And so everyone's like, oh, he killed her. But did he? He did not. If that's not really, it's not really a spoiler. I'm pretty sure you can tell quite early on that he did not do it. And it kept me guessing until the end. I watched the TV show and then I read the book, and it's really paralleled up there. Like, it's on par. Like, they don't deviate really from the book that much because there is so much source material, so there's no point to deviate from it. And it's so good. Like, you will have no idea who it is until the very end, when it's kind of just given to you and you're like, what? It blew my mind. I think I watched it when I was quite young, and if I went back and watched it now, I think I would have more of an idea of who it was because of what I've been through now. Be like, I see you. The next question in this tag is Stand By Me, and that is name a book that portrayed a very loyal friendship between its characters, and I have to go with Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I recently read it and I loved it. I really loved it. It was so interesting, and I loved the way how it portrayed real life so tragically, especially in America, because I don't want to spoil anything, but gun violence over there, not great, absolutely terrible. And it portrayed a very real friendship and the waves you go through, because no one knows what happens between two friends, not really. And I feel like it definitely portrayed a really realistic view of yes, people come and go from your life, that's the way it works, but sometimes those people who go end up coming back, and that's just the way it works, the waves of friendship. And I feel it's pretty realistic that when you're young, you have these friends that just don't come with you to where you go. But I think these two main characters, Sam and Sadie, they definitely did come and go from each other's lives, but they were so loyal to each other that they just kept coming back because they loved each other. And I think Sam did love Sadie in a way that she could not love him. And that was devastating as well. When you love someone and they just don't love you the same way, it's upsetting. But they just kept coming back together, and I think that was that's loyalty. They just were there for each other in the lowest moments, and sometimes they weren't there for each other in their low moments, because you can't always be there for people. And I think that's just very realistic. It sounds horrible, but it's kind of the truth. Next question in this tag is Tug of War, and that is name a book that you have mixed emotions about. And I have to pick What If It's Us. I really wanted to like it, but so many books within the sort of early young adult genre, I want to say, because it's it's kind of just a step above middle grade. I think a lot of storylines that I've read recently, including this one, kind of stories that could be solved with just a simple conversation, but that person refuses to have that conversation. And I get sometimes it's oh, this is a really hard conversation for a young person to go through, someone in their late teens to have with a friend, or someone who they see as a romantic interest in their life. But I just feel nowadays people are so much more mature than what they used to be, and so I feel like some of the stories I've read recently, this one and Melt With You, could have been solved by like a simple conversation of being like, you know what you did really hurt my feelings, and XYZ. And then that person would be like, well, you know what, fuck you, XYZ, all these other reasons why ABC. And that doesn't happen. It's quite irritating, and I feel like the romance in that book, like, they should have stayed together, and I feel like that's coming from like the author or one of the authors kind of being like, let's fuck shit up, let's make more books about these two ending up not together and then eventually ending up together and then they die. Be like, well, that's sad. And the last question in this tag is treats, and that is name a book that you are really excited to read. I think this is coming out this year, like as in excited to read this year, like released. But I'm really excited to read Priory of the Orange Tree, because A Day of Fallen Night came out and it looks really pretty, and I bought it. I bought it not having read Priory of the Orange Tree. And I feel like I will read it this year because I want to read that one, which is like a prequel to that. So I'm just like, this will be interesting. And I've heard it's very gay, so that is like a big motivation for me to read it. Also, it's like fantasy, so I'm just like, oh, it's my perfect book, but I'm just like, it's too big. I'm scared. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Please like, subscribe, because that is always nice, and I see you next time. Goodbye.